Hello, everyone, and thank you for your attention for joining this stream. And many thanks to all the members of our community who will either join later on or will watch a video of this stream during the day. Today is, of course, 30th of June. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, news that Russian media and the public is paying attention to. And I hope you will find this episode informative and useful. And that's being said, let's go through some news without any further delay. And I'm going to start this news segment with this report that Moscow concert hall massacre suspects say Ukraine ordered the attack. And this is, of course, news about last year's terrorist attack on Crocus City Hall, during which about 150 people, civilians, were killed and hundreds of people were wounded. Let's go for some details through this news. So, suspects in last year's terrorist attack on a concert hall near Moscow have told investigators that the massacre was ordered by Ukraine. Russian media reported on Sunday, citing interrogation transcripts. On March 22nd, 2024, four gunmen opened fire inside the Crocus City Hall music venue and set building ablaze, killing 149 people and injuring more than 600. All four attackers, all four terrorists, were captured hours later while attempting to flee by car toward Ukraine, according to investigators. Islamic State Khorasan Province, ISIS-K, so-called terrorist organization, a regional branch of the Islamic State jihadist group, claimed the responsibility for their massacre. The alleged attackers, Delendzon Mirzoev, Saidokram Rasha Balizoda, Shamsiddin Fariduni, and Muhammad Zobir Fiazov are all citizens of Tajikistan, a former Soviet republic that is bordering Afghanistan, and a few former Soviet Central Asian republics. According to their case files cited by the media, the suspects told investigators that the Ukrainian state entity had ordered the attack while ISIS-K served as their direct organizer. They reportedly said their weapons used in the massacre had come from Ukraine. RIA Novosti reported that Rasha Balizoda told investigators their handler, known to the group as Saifullah, instructed them to escape to Kiev, where each was promised around $13,000. The suspects also allegedly said their handlers were based in Turkey and Afghanistan. According to TASS news agency, one of the suspects claimed their handlers intended to their operation to appear as if it had been carried out solely on behalf of ISIS-K. Ukraine has denied any involvement in the Crocus City Hall attack. However, Kiev has previously acknowledged carrying out targeted assassinations and the sabotage in Russia. One such act in late May caused a passenger train derailment that killed 5 people and injured more than 100. So, based on this information, your friends, we can assume that the Russian government has additional bulletproof, basically, arguments to designate Kiev regime as a terrorist organization. And I hope this will really happen. It should be done by now because there is overwhelming evidences of terrorist nature of the Kiev regime, terrorist activity of the Kiev regime, and I have no answers why this regime have not been already designated as a terrorist, which will obviously untie the hands of Russian security services and militaries to deal with this terrorist organization that Kiev regime is actually, and all their branches of the so-called state institutions of Ukraine that are operating under orders of this terrorists. So maybe this is second time in last several weeks when we are receiving information that Kiev regime was, this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky was directly involved in this terrorist attack on Crocus City Hall. And maybe, just maybe, these leaks of information are indicators of at least discussion that is happening in Russian leadership about taking action and designating Kiev regime as a terrorist organization. Hopefully that will happen, because it has to happen. It does make all the sense. And once again, Russian armed forces, Russian security services, I guess, are tired extremely fighting the enemy, this terrorist organization, while both hands being tied behind their backs. And once Kiev regime is designated as a terrorist organization, obviously Russian security services and their armed forces will have much more options to deal with these terrorists, right? Let's see how the situation develops, but I think clearly there is a movement in direction of designating Kiev regime as a terrorist organization, as it's supposed to be done. To continue, dear friends, RIA Novosti is reporting that overnight air defense systems on duty, according to Russian Defense Ministry, intercepted 15 Ukrainian drones that were launched by Kiev regime to strike deep into Russian territory with assistance of NATO. Of course, 10 drones were intercepted over the Kursk region, 5 drones over the Azov Sea, and at least 2 drones that were intercepted over the Azov Sea were shut down from Crimea, as far as I can tell. And let me share with you a video of destruction of one of these drones that was intercepted. So this is the footage that is circulating on internet. No reports about casualties on the ground, or more or less significant damage, at least for now. If any update on that, of course, I will share additional information on my Telegram and Twitter X pages during the next update. And dear friends, when it comes to next video update or next live stream, let me make a little announcement. I want to conduct some sort of experiment. I'm interested how many members of our community will find it convenient if I will make evening live streams at about 11 p.m. Moscow time, 11 o'clock at evening. And today I will probably try to do a live stream at 11 with all their additional news. And if by chance you are on internet at that point, please join. Of course, I will let you know about the second stream some 30-15 minutes before it starts with the announcement on my Telegram and Twitter X pages. Let's continue now with some more news. And even though I did a report yesterday about success of Russian armed forces on the battlefield, I think it's worth to repeat that Russian armed forces, according to a number of sources, established control over the Dachная settlement in Dnipropetrovsk region. Also, reports are coming that Russian armed forces established control over their Chervona Zirka settlement, Novoukrainka settlement, and also reports are coming in that Russian armed forces basically, as a result of local-scale offensive operations, reached central parts of Kamenskaya settlement in Zaporozhye sector. Let me show you on the map these areas. So when it comes to Dachna settlement. Well, this is Dachna in Dnipropetrovsk region. This is Novoukrayinka settlement, and well, this report about Novoukrayinka caused some confusion because yet again there are many settlements in this former Soviet republic that have a similar names. For example, this village, Novoukrayinka, is definitely under Russian control. Information is confirmed officially. It's located right next to Dnipropetrovsk region. Dachna is also liberated. And well, if we take a look north towards Pokrovsk, then well, there is another Novoukrayinka settlement here. And according to reports, Russian troops are conducting offensive towards this settlement. And that's why yesterday I was confused while reporting about liberation of Novoukrayinka. My initial understanding was that this is exactly the settlement that Russian troops liberated on the southern side of Pokrovsk, but I have to correct myself. Even though Russian troops are on offensive in Novoukrayinka direction, on south of Pokrovsk, settlement that was liberated is this one. This Novoukrayinka right next to border with Dnipropetrovsk region. This kind of confusion happens time to time because yet again, so many settlements on Kiev controlled territory have similar names that it's difficult to not get confused, isn't it? If you are not on the ground, then there is high chances that at one point you will get confused or will start asking questions how many times this or that settlement can be liberated, while in reality it's different settlements with same name. So significant progress of the Russian armed forces all along the front line, dear friends, but especially, of course, this progress is visible in DPR, where Russian troops reached the Dnipropetrovsk region in many locations and already are liberating settlements inside the Dnipropetrovsk region itself. And one might argue that creation of the buffer zone in Dnipropetrovsk region has begun. Also, reports are coming in that Russian militaries are intensifying raids on the right bank of the Dnieper River. So the armed forces continue raids on the right bank of the Dnieper River in the Kherson region, occupied by the Ukrainian armed forces. Governor of the region, Vladimir Saldo, told RIA Novosti, and this information is also relevant, I believe, because this information confirms earlier reports, including from me, that Russian troops managed to establish a full control over their islands on the Dnieper River, or the vast majority of islands on the Dnieper River, and now are in a position to conduct successful raids on the right bank of the Kherson region. One may even argue that Russian troops are preparing potentially sectoral scale offensive operation in the Kherson direction. Could be true. We don't know. Obviously, Russia's general staff is not sharing information about its plans with the public for understandable reasons. But lately, probably we all notice that almost on a daily basis, we are receiving information about activization of the Russian armed forces on different sectors. For example, Russian troops become significantly active, not just in Kherson, but also in Zaporozhye direction. And this is Kamenka settlement, by the way, Kamenskaya settlement, which is disputed between the sides. And as I already said, according to reports in Russian media, forward units of the Russian armed forces actually established control of the central part of this strategically important settlement right now at this phase of the special military operation. Earlier, I reported about progress of the Russian armed forces in direction of Orekhov. Russian troops were conducting operations in Malaya Takmachka area, which is also disputed already between the sides, and the southern part of this settlement is under Russian control. Also, Russian troops activated their operations in Novodanilovka direction, and now Kamenskaya, and this is happening while Russian troops are also increasing their speed of their offensive operations in the DPR area, almost completely liberated LPR, by the way, Lugansk People's Republic, where, according to latest reports, Russian troops are controlling 99.5% of the territory. So just a tiny part of this region is controlled by Kyiv regime's forces. And same time, we are receiving reports about activization of the Russian forces in the Seversk direction, and some sources even reporting that Russian DRGs already are operating on the outskirts of Seversk, which is, I will say, significant progress. Also, battles are taking place for Syribryanka settlement on the northern side of Seversk. And this is not all. Russian troops are also active in Kupiansk direction, also active in the northern Kharkov sector, in Volchansk area. Nothing to be said about Sumy direction, where Russian troops quite successfully are creating a buffer zone, right? So while analyzing all these developments, I come up maybe with a mistaken conclusion. After all, I'm not military expert, but I did come up with the conclusion that the Russian troops are basically conducting operations in a way to basically confuse Kyiv regime and force it to move up and down its reserves on a regular basis. So last week Russian troops were significantly active in the Sumy direction, and Kyiv regime was forced to send its reserves towards the northern part of Sumy region, then now we are receiving reports about significant activization of the Russian troops in Zaporozhye sector, and Kyiv regime is forced to send reserves, quite often very same reserves that were already sent to northern side, towards the southern sectors, right, towards Zaporozhye. And obviously this constant movement and their absence of knowledge where exactly Russian troops gonna intensify operations next week definitely creates additional confusion among enemy forces, and it's helpful. It's helpful for Russian troops, and maybe this will answer why it's happening that, as I already said, 1 week Russian troops are attacking on one sector, are quite active, then on another sector, then on another. What is going on? And maybe that's what is happening. Kyiv regime is already struggling with manpower big time, and the reserve forces of Kyiv regime is quite limited. And while conducting these operations and moving forward all along the front line, Russian troops also are exhausting reserves of the Kyiv regime. Maybe this is their tactical game, not game. This is tactical operations that Russian troops are using on the battlefield. Possibly, I don't know. Yet again, I'm no military expert, but this is my assumption on the matter. Anyways, let's continue. And as I reported yesterday, dear friends, Kyiv regime has confirmed the loss of another F-16 fighter jet last night, and not previous night, but night before, when Russian armed forces were conducting relatively large-scale drone and missile strikes, long-range drone and missile strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kyiv regime. And once again, this Western-backed terrorist regime in Kyiv claimed that plane crashed. This F-16 crashed. Pilot was killed as a result of this crash, but I don't buy this. I don't buy that every time Kyiv regime is losing these Western planes, they are crashing. I think Russian fighter jets successfully shut down this F-16, and more will be intercepted, by the way, because due to Russian offensive in the Sumy region, reports are coming in that Kyiv regime is forced to intensify use of its aviation in the Sumy direction. So that means Russian fighter jets will, any day, by the way, anytime, might ambush this whatever planes Kyiv regime has left, basically, being F-16, US-made F-16, French-made Mirage 2000, or Soviet-era Su-27, or the Su-24, or MiG-29, right? Or if Kyiv regime still has any of them left. So yes, fifth F-16 was neutralized. I wonder when we will receive information about neutralization of first Mirage 2000 plane. It should happen soon, I mean, anytime. Hello everyone, I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with the crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.